Digital nomad, expat, remote worker, whatever you want to call it, you want to make money online while traveling the world. This is what I've been doing for the past 18 months. When I turned 23, I was sick of this boring, repetitive life that I had in my hometown in Canada. I was working jobs that didn't fulfill me. It was cold and rainy, and I just saw no end path or goal to chase there. I was making a little bit of money online at the time, and I was trying to figure out the best path for me. And I ended up running into a travel influencer couple at a party, and I just asked them straight up, what would you do if you were me? My goals are pretty simple. I want freedom, I want a good community, I want good weather, and I want a low cost of living. And they only had one answer for me, and that was go to Bali. And a year and a half later, here we are. I'm sitting in this beautiful villa in the mountains, and I've been to 8 countries in the past year. I've met some amazing friends. I've blown up on social media and leveled up my business, and every aspect of my life has improved since I made that one decision. So I'm not here to sell you the dream. I'm here to show you how I've actually been able to build this life for myself, what I've learned along the way, and how you can do the same thing as well. Now, this video is going to be a little bit different than most videos out there on this topic. Most people who talk about digital nomadism, they say, find an online job that pays you enough money, live below your means, and save as much money as possible. Now, to me, that doesn't sound appealing. To be honest, I'm not really a person who lives for traveling. Personally, the way I approach this is I like to spend long periods of time in a place that offers all of the things that I'm looking for and gives me true freedom and doesn't have all of the constraints that you have when you live in America or in many places in Europe. You know, things like a 9-to-5 or a car payment or rent. The biggest appeal to this life for me is the fact that you can just travel whenever you want. You can get up and leave when you feel like going somewhere, and you aren't tied down by any of these things. So I want to be very clear that this isn't a video about how to spend 12 hours a day drinking coconuts by the beach while you make $3,000 doing nothing. This is a decision that's going to take sacrifice, it's going to take work, and there are going to be times where you question if it's even worth it. I think there's a big part of this life that's romanticized online, and maybe I'm part of the problem because I make a lot of this type of content. But the truth is there's a lot of work that goes into maintaining this lifestyle. But if you truly feel like there's no place for you in your hometown or wherever you are, then I can't think of anything that's more fulfilling than this. So the goal of this video is very simple. I want to help you create the roadmap to creating a sustainable lifestyle that gives you the ultimate freedom. And that's location freedom, that's financial freedom, and that's independence from the Western world and all the things that tie us down to it. And the best way to do that is to become an owner of your income. The goal is to be running a business while you're traveling and use traveling to make more money, not make money so you can travel. So the way I see it, there's 3 main ways to become a digital nomad. There's freelancing. So this is where you sell a high income skill, for example, video editing or copywriting or marketing, and you work for clients that pay you a flat fee for projects or maybe a monthly retainer. And the second is having a remote job. So this is where you work for a company abroad somewhere, all from your laptop, and it gives you the freedom to work anywhere in the world. And the third is having an online business, specifically through making content. And this is what I'll be focusing on in this video because that's the way that I've done it. I think that this is the biggest return on your investment in terms of time, and it gives you the biggest opportunity to build something big and turn this into a lifestyle and not just a long vacation. And I wouldn't say any of them are right or wrong. I've met tons of people who have done the freelancing or the work online thing, and yes, they get to travel and they have more freedom than your typical worker, but from the time I've spent around them, you can tell that they're still slaves to their boss, they're still slaves to the hourly wage, and they spend 8 to 10 hours a day building someone else's dream. And for me personally, that's just not enticing. You know, you spend 6 months, maybe a year in Bali just to be doing the exact same thing that you'd be doing at home. So is it really freedom? So I want to change this mindset of what it means to become a digital nomad from working to building. If you're building something, you're providing value, you're putting in the work now, you're setting yourself up from the future, and you're gonna be able to reap the rewards of the work that you put in now later. Instead of working for an employer where all you really get is maybe a little bit better at a skill that you don't care about and some money in your pocket every single month. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, let's get really clear on what you want and define what your goals are. There's so many different ways to go about this, and everyone has different goals, but do you want to make 2K per month and just cover your basic expenses, or do you want to make 10K, 20K per month and live luxuriously? Both of these are more than possible, but you have to understand the trade-offs with each. If you want to make 10K per month, you have to expect that you're going to work 8 to 12 hours most days to build this up in the beginning. If you're okay with just 2K per month, then you have to be okay with living cheaply. That means maybe living in a hostel with 10 other people or eating street food all the time. The sacrifice is necessary. You just have to be very clear on what you're willing to sacrifice. The way to look at it is you're trading comfort now for freedom later. So I would take a moment now and just pause this video and start writing down, what would you want your life to look like? Where do you want to live? Do you want to be by the beach? Do you want to be in a big city? What are you working on? How much time are you spending working? Do you want to spend half your time just surfing and hiking, or do you actually want to spend this time building a big business and you're just looking looking for an environment that lets you do that. The clearer you get on this, the easier it will be to turn this into reality, regardless of how big your goals are. Okay, cool. So now that we're clear on that, let's get to the fun part that you're probably waiting for. How do you make money online by making content? Now, the first thing to do is change your mindset about what content is. Posting videos online is not just about getting attention, it's a business opportunity. And if you do it the right way, it's your passport out of a 9-to-5. So here's how you actually make money from content, even if you have no followers or no one knows who you are yet. So the first step here is pick a content and offer combo. Before you start posting, ask yourself, what problem am I capable of solving and how will I get paid to solve this problem? And there's two routes here. The first is service-backed content. So this, for example, could be you're a video editor, you post tips or before and afters or case studies, and you use your content to attract more clients. In this case, it would be other editors who are looking to learn. And the way you monetize this would be mostly through high-ticket services, such as coaching, such as courses that's very hands-on and teaches someone how to perform the skill or doing the skill for other clients. And the second way, which is the most popular right now, is having a personal brand and some type of digital offer to go with it. And a typical roadmap for this is you post your journey, you build trust, and then you sell some type of offer. So think about this through the lens of what are you intimately knowledgeable about, or what are you better at than most people? And you don't have to be an expert. You just have to be one step ahead of the audience. A good example of this would be Mino Lee. If you guys have seen this guy on Instagram, he started posting content about making $0, but he had the goal of making $100,000 per month. And he just talked about the process of building this business up, and he gave tips and tricks on how he gets viral videos and how he gets clients through his videos. And it's kind of this interesting loop because he makes videos talking about making money through content creation, and then he sells people on making money through content creation, and then he makes content about how he made money through teaching those people. So it's this like never ending loop, and there's always content there for him. But at the core of it, it's not about how much money he's making. That's not why the videos do well. The videos do well because he's a young kid who's documenting his journey. He provides value to others, and it's very relatable for other people who are just a few steps behind or like he was a couple years ago. So you want to look at the main goal of your content to be, you want to gain credibility, you want trust. It's not just about going viral. Going viral is a bonus, but converting people into customers and giving value is the goal. And to break this down even more simply, here is the formula for content creation. So there's value, teach what you know, break down myths, show behind the scenes, and simplify complex ideas. There's proof, show what's worked for you or for others. So this could be case studies, this could be screenshots, this could be wins, and personality. Talk like you, show your face, and be relatable. Now, once you have a good grasp on content and you're putting stuff out there and you're getting a little bit of a following, there's 4 main ways to start making money with content. First and the easiest is digital products. Now, the pros of this is it's pretty easy to make. You can make most of these in a few days. It's very scalable. You just put in the work one time and you can sell hundreds or thousands of them for years. It's a good way to sell to your audience without them making a huge financial investment, which takes a lot more friction to get through. Now, the only downside of this is it's very hard to scale this for a long period of time. You know, you could probably do a big launch and sell a bunch of them in your first few months, but after that, you have to constantly be promoting it. It's just a little hard to consistently be making a lot of money from this for a long period of time. But if you're just getting started, I think this is the best way to get into monetizing your content and your audience. The second way to monetize is through affiliate marketing. So this is where you talk about products that you actually use for your business or for your content. You just talk about it openly in your content and you tell people that they can use it with your link. And anytime someone signs up for that product or service or whatever it is, then you get a small percentage of that sale. You don't have to build a product, you don't have to put any work in. You can literally just use an already existing business that you use and get a little bit of money from it every single month. Usually it's like 10 to 20%. Some affiliate programs give you up to 50%, but I wouldn't downplay this. You can make a lot of money with affiliate marketing, especially if you're talking about specific tools all the time in your videos. It probably won't be your main source of income, but it could be an additional few hundred to $1,000 a month pretty easily. The third way to make money through content is through coaching or through consulting. So if you actually are an expert in something or you are intimately knowledgeable about something, for example, content creation, or if you are a fitness coach, selling your time in the form of one-on-one or group calls can be a very simple way to make thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars if you have a big brand. Now, the biggest downside to this is that people are investing a lot of money into you, which means they trust you, which means your product has to be good. You have to be delivering. If you're just starting out, I would recommend starting at a low price point, maybe a few $100s for your time, and then work your way up as you get better. You are still selling your time for money. Of course, you're making a lot more money if you do this correctly. You will be taking a lot of phone calls every week. You are going to be investing a lot of time into this. There's nothing about it that is passive. And the fourth and last way to make money through your content is with brand deals. So once you build up an audience, brand brands will start coming to you and paying you for exposure. It's a great way to make money for content that you would have made anyways. And once again, it doesn't require building a product or anything like that. It's just promoting something that already exists and you're getting paid. And a lot of these also have affiliate partnerships as well. So you get a flat fee and then a percentage for every single person that signs up for that product, for example. Now, this is also a great way to make money, but there's downsides to it as well. When you do a lot of brand deals, you do kind of water down your brand. A lot of people will see your content as someone who is constantly promoting other products. It doesn't leave you much room to promote your own products if you have your own thing that you want to come out with. And on YouTube specifically, it really hurts engagement. So with all 4 of these ways to monetize content, there's pros and there's cons to them. You really have to take a look at all of them and see what fits your specific situation and what are your goals. But I've done every single one of them on this list. All of them work. You can make good money with all of them. But if I were to recommend one thing for you, I would say start with one of them. So probably digital products in the beginning, a little bit of affiliate marketing if you're talking about products consistently. And as you grow your audience, you can start moving into the brand deals that are aligned with your brand and doing some of the coaching stuff that is just helping people with the things that you're already teaching in your content. And you'll have people DMing you all the time asking you for coaching. So that is something that can be very aligned with your brand, and you don't have to do it in a way that is too salesy or makes you look like a sellout. Now, a bonus way to make money through content is through YouTube AdSense. Now, this one I'm not going to spend a lot of time on because I don't think it's the best way to make money online. It has been my main source of income for a few years, but at this point, I've transitioned out of relying on YouTube because it's very reliant on how many views you're getting. It's very reliant on consistently posting good content on YouTube, which is very hard to do. And it's also reliant on what kind of niche you're in, So if you're making business videos, for example, you will be paid more than if you're just making travel vlogs. But this can kind of easily put you into a box of making content you don't want to make just because you're trying to get as much AdSense as possible. So the way that I think about it now, I think AdSense is a good bonus. It's a good add-on to your income, but I would not rely on YouTube AdSense to make a majority of your income. It's too up and down, and you're gonna have a mental breakdown if you're constantly relying on it, is the way that I look at it. I would focus on some of the other ones because they're much easier to track. They're much easier to, tangibly scale. A digital product, you can think about it, you can reverse engineer it. I need to sell this amount of this to make this amount of money. Where YouTube videos, it's like very reliant on how much is the algorithm gonna say that this video is worth. Okay, if it's $5 RPM, that means YouTube will pay me $5 per 1,000 views. How many views do you need to get to make $10,000? It's a lot, and it's really hard to get that many views. There's much simpler ways to make a lot more money. So let's talk about income and how to reverse engineer your finance goals. So for example, let's say you wanna make 10K per month. That's most people's goal when they're getting into this online money space. They say, I wanna make 10K per month. It's like the golden number. So let's run with that. The way that I approach selling services or products is thinking about it, okay, if this is my end goal, it's 10K per month, and I have a digital product that I'm selling for X amount of dollars, how many of these do I need to sell to get here? And what does it take to sell this amount of this product? So for example, if we have a course that we're selling for $100, that means to make $10,000 per month, we need to sell 100 of this course. Well, what does it take to sell 100 of these courses? Well, number one, it's content. You need to make a bunch of content promoting this product and leading people into this. Now you can look up the stats online for how many people normally convert on a product at that price point, but let's say it's 1%, right? 1% of people who see that product are going to purchase it. That would mean you need to bring 10,000 people to the checkout page. And what does it take to get 10,000 people to the checkout page? You probably need a few 100,000 views to get there. So just by breaking it down this way, it makes it much more tangible than just having this goal of $10,000 a month and having a product, but you have no idea how to connect the two. I hope that's clear. I know it's a little bit confusing, but this is the way that I approach everything that I sell. If I have a $2,000 coaching program, you only need to sell 5 of those a month. How many people do I need to show that coaching product in front of? How many sales calls do I need to get on to sell 5 a month? This way, when you think of small numbers like this, 5, 100, it makes it much more tangible in your mind instead of this big out there idea of $10,000 a month. If you're a complete beginner, this probably all sounds complicated, but I'm telling you that this game is pretty simple. You post, you learn, you adjust, sell, repeat. You don't need to be perfect. I've had tons of launches that have failed. I've had videos that have flopped, but I just keep going and I try to get better every single time. One client can change your year. One video can blow up and make you thousands of dollars. One product can print you $1,000 per month passively, and one viral video can create enough leverage for you to build a 6-figure business. So look at everything through the frame of consistency over talent. Get 1% better every single day, and you'll be better than 99% of people who have this idea in their head of creating content, but they actually never take any action and they're not doing the thing. Okay, next thing I want to say before you get too excited is Please do not quit your job until you are ready. I think there's two ways of doing this responsibly. The first is saving enough income, like at least 6 months of living expenses before you quit, or when you've matched or gotten close to your current income with your content business. The reason that most people fail, and I've seen this time and time again, is they quit their jobs too early. They move across the world with maybe a few $1,000s, and next thing you know, the business that they're working on doesn't work out, or it took way more work than they thought, way more time, and then they have to go back home, go back to the 9 to 5 and start all over again. You don't want to do that. If this is truly a long-term play for you and you want to turn this into your lifestyle, you want to make sure that you set yourself up properly before you book that plane ticket, before you leave the country. Caveat I would say to this is if you are already a freelancer or you're making some money online and maybe you have a few clients, you basically already have the freedom to work wherever you want, and maybe it actually might make more sense to leave because, say, Bali, the living expenses here are much cheaper than it would be in most places in the US. So if you're in that position, then maybe it makes sense for you to move out and start working on your clients, working on your business, but also working on your content thing at the same time. That's possible, but the way I look at it is go all out or don't do it at all. In my experience, and I've seen this happen to other people as well, is they'll move across the world with the idea they're gonna work on both these things at the same time, and the job that is paying their bills, is giving them the income that they need to survive out there, is taking all of the mental real estate. They spend the beginning half of their day working on that, and by the time they're finished, they don't have the discipline or the motivation to work on the main thing anymore, and they push it off and never actually get started. So it really depends on what type of person you are and how much discipline you think you have. If you think you're capable of doing both of them, then go for it. I won't stop you, but just keep that in mind, is that this is a very common issue that I've seen, is when people do two things at once, one of them will take over, and usually it's the one that is already paying your bills that you're not that passionate about and isn't your dream. Now let's quickly touch on locations and where I would recommend you to live. Now, it really depends, like I said, where you're living at now and what you're looking for. I've lived in Europe, I've lived in Southeast Asia. I haven't done South America, which is also another hotspot for digital nomads, so I can't comment on that one too much, but I'll tell you the pros and cons of each one. Now, Europe, the pros are a lot of culture, it's very beautiful, you have good food. There is somewhat of a digital community that is kind of doing similar things like in Portugal or in Spain. It's easy to access from America, usually only one flight, and I think it's a much slower pace of living than you would find in, like New York or LA, for example, or just anywhere in the States. Now, Europe is cool, but in general, it is pretty expensive. It might not be as expensive as America, for example, but let's say you want to move to, I don't know, Paris. Paris is super expensive. You'll have a good time, but if you're trying to, build up a brand new business, the more money you save, the better. So yeah, I would definitely weigh that out. Probably the best ones in Europe are Portugal and Spain, but it's not as cheap as Southeast Asia, which is where I spend most of my time now. So I've been to Bali, I've been to Thailand, I've spent a little bit of time in Singapore and might do Vietnam in the future. I think Southeast Asia, for me specifically, is the best place to be because it is probably the cheapest that you can find in the world for what you get. Bali has beaches, you have mountains, you can find cities here as well. In Thailand, has some of the best, cleanest hospitals that you couldn't even find in America. So the infrastructure is here in Asia. It's much cheaper. You can get everything you want out of the digital nomad lifestyle here. You can find the communities and the people who are doing the same thing. Basically everything about Southeast Asia I love. For a lot of other people, for me particularly, I haven't dealt with many issues about this. It is that it is still a third world country. Thailand and Bali and all these places are still very third world in some ways. When it comes to banking, when it comes to insurance, when it comes to access to hospitals, like I said, Bangkok and Thailand is pretty good at this, but Bali is definitely behind. You might face some struggles when it comes to stuff like that. It is dirtier. The air quality might not be as good as you're used to wherever you're from. And probably the biggest one is it's very far. If you're from America or Europe, it's probably a 20 to 30 hour flight is, in my opinion, the biggest downside. But other than that, man, I have nothing to complain about this place, really. You make little trade-offs, but what you get in return is much better. Now, there's also places like Dubai, which have a huge online money scene as well. So the pros there are, it's Dubai, it's very rich, there's amazing networking opportunities, it is very safe. The cons are, it's Dubai, it's super expensive, and you probably already need to be rich to be living there. but I thought I would just share that just in case that was an option. Other than that, that's pretty much most of what you need to know to become a digital nomad. There are other things to keep into account, you know, like taxes or not overstaying your welcome. In most countries, you can't be there for more than 183 days or else you become a tax resident and then you have all these issues. There's a lot of visa implications there. So you really have to do your research when it comes to that stuff. I can't tell you because it really depends on where you're from, where you're going, but look into all that stuff before you make the decision to make a permanent move. Yeah, that's another super long conversation and something I'm still figuring out myself. So don't take my advice for that. I would do your own research depending on where you're at to figure all that stuff out. Final thing I'll leave you with is just the overall mindset that I would go into this with. You know, you want to go into this with the mindset of growth. You're building something and this is not a vacation. You know, it's very easy to get tempted, especially when you live in a place like Bali. You know, there's beach clubs everywhere, there's parties going on all the time. And it's very easy to kind of get in that mindset of partying and then working is just what you do on the side. So if this is something that you actually want to take seriously, then treat it seriously, become a professional and have set hours that you work and work by a schedule. These are the types of things that'll let you do this long term and not, you know, kind of lose it or throw it all away because you got a little too caught up in all the fun stuff. Of course, you can do the fun stuff. It's there for you anytime you want to enjoy it, but do not make that your whole life or else you're never gonna build anything. And I would do everything you can to put yourself out there and meet other people that are doing the same thing. It'll push you harder, it'll help you learn, and especially in a place like Bali, but Thailand has this, I know South America has this, and Spain and Portugal. They have these digital nomad hubs and co-working places and stuff like this. It's a great opportunity to meet other people, put yourself out there. You know, you have nothing to lose by meeting other people that are doing a similar thing. And since you're both coming from different places, it's already kind of a little bit uncomfortable. And in my experience, it's been way easier to meet really good friends that way because you're a visitor here coming from somewhere else, and it just makes it much easier to meet others because they're in the same situation. Go to co-working spaces, go to networking events, and do everything you can to meet as many people as possible. And that will just push you even farther and make this life a reality. I think this is the longest video I've ever made, but I hope you got some value out of it. And just know, if you want to become digital nomad or whatever you want to call it, it's more than possible. You just have to, you know, plan it out and put the work in and you'll get there. And if you want some help getting there, this is what I do. You can DM me on Instagram and we'll figure out how to turn this into a reality for you. Thanks for watching this video and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.